Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to tackle a problem that I'm sure we've all faced. We're going to turn pure chaos into crystal clarity. We'll be looking at a really powerful tool that helps untangle even the most complicated processes. If you've ever worked on a project or in software, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know that feeling, right? You're trying to explain a workflow, maybe a user's journey through an app, or just a business process. And the more you talk, the more confusing it gets. It feels like you're just weaving this tangled web of words, and everyone's getting lost. But what if you could just swap that whole mess for a clear, simple visual map? Well, you can. And the tool that brings all that beautiful order to the chaos is called an activity diagram. So, what exactly are these things? The easiest way to think about them is like a flowchart, but, a flowchart with superpowers. They don't just show a simple sequence of steps. They actually model the dynamic, moving behavior of an entire system. Now, technically speaking, an activity diagram is part of what's called UML. That's the Unified Modeling Language, which is a big deal in software design. But all you really need to know is that it's built to map the entire flow of control from one activity to the next. It gives you this complete top-down picture of a workflow, from the very beginning to the very end. Okay, so a basic flowchart, like you see on the left, just shows a simple, one thing after another path. But an activity diagram, over on the right, can handle way more complexity. Its real power, its superpower really, is modeling concurrent activities. That means tasks that are all happening at the same time. And that, for visualizing how things actually work in the real world, is a total game changer. All right, to build these powerful maps, we need to speak the language. So let's break down the essential symbols you'll be working with. And trust me, they're actually pretty intuitive once you see them in action. First up, we've got the bookends of your process. That solid black circle, that's your start node, the official entry point. And the outlined circle is your end node. That signals that the entire process is finished. Super simple, right? No confusion there. Now, the heart of the diagram are the actions. You'll see these as rectangles with rounded corners. Each one represents a single task that needs to get done, like user logs in, or validate credentials, or dispatch order. Basically, these are all the doing parts of your workflow. Okay, now for the logic. A diamond shape is a decision node. This is where the flow branches out based on some condition. Just think of it as an if-then moment in your process. For example, a question like, is the item in stock? If the answer is yes, the flow goes one way. If it's no, it goes somewhere else. And here it is, that superpower we were talking about. This thick bar is a fork node, and it splits a single path into multiple parallel flows. This is how you show tasks that are happening simultaneously. Then, the join node does the exact opposite. It merges those paths back into one, but only after all the parallel tasks are complete. So let's put it all together real quick. A process kicks off at the start node. Then some action A happens, which takes us to a decision. Now, depending on that decision, maybe a totally different task, action B, gets performed before the whole thing wraps up at the end node. See? It's just a simple, logical story told with a few shapes. Okay, so we've got the theory down. That's great. But where does this stuff actually make a difference? Let's look at a few real-world examples to see the practical power of these diagrams. Think about checking out from an online store. The process might start the second you add an item to your cart. Next, you have to enter payment info. Then the system hits a decision point. Is the payment valid? If yes, fantastic. The order gets confirmed and the process is over. If no, it might loop you back to try again. An activity diagram maps this whole journey perfectly. Or how about a document management workflow? Let's say an author creates a document. This kicks off a parallel process, a fork, where the document goes to a reviewer for feedback and to an editor for grammar checks at the exact same time. It's only when both of them are done, when we hit that join node, that it can move on to the next step, like approval. This is a perfect example of showing tasks happening at the same time across different roles. Here's one we all know, getting cash from an ATM. You start the session, you perform the action, enter PIN. The machine immediately hits a decision node. Is the PIN correct? If it is, you get to request an amount. The system then checks with the bank, and once it gets the green light, it dispenses your cash and ends the session. It's just a clear sequence of actions and decisions. So why even go to all this trouble? Well, because these diagrams deliver some really huge benefits. They help you spot errors or bottlenecks way early on. They let you see where you can streamline workflows to be more efficient. They get your entire team on the same page, from business analysts to developers. And they create amazing documentation for how a system actually works. You know, this quote really nails it. At the end of the day, the goal is just clarity. By making the flow visual, you make the complex behavior of a system easy for pretty much anyone to understand. And that ensures everyone involved is working from the same playbook. And that brings us to the end. I'll just leave you with this question to chew on. In your own work, right now, what's that one tangled, confusing process that you could transform from total chaos to perfect clarity with a simple activity diagram? Thanks so much for tuning in.